Donald Trump has just been handed more power by the Supreme Court. Yes, it has backed the disgraced president's efforts to limit lower courts' authority to issue nationwide injunctions. In this shift, injunctions would now only protect the specific plaintiffs who brought suits, such as certain states or advocacy groups, rather than halting policies across all 50 states. This marks a significant recalibration of judicial power over presidential actions.
Thanks to this decision, we can now properly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people. But I want to just thank again the Supreme Court for this ruling. It's a giant, and they should be very proud, and our country should be very proud of the Supreme Court today.
The ruling did not resolve whether Trump's attempt to end birthright citizenship is constitutional. Instead, it paused enforcement of the policy pending further legal challenge. In response, immigrant rights groups like CASA and the Asylum Seeker Advocacy Project have moved quickly to seek emergency relief, filing class action lawsuits and aiming to extend protections to all those who might be affected, including children born to undocumented parents. In a 6-3 decision, the court's conservative majority, led by Justice Amy Coney Barrett, held that nationwide injunctions likely exceed the authority granted to lower courts and limited the scope of existing injunctions only to the cases at hand. Barrett clarified that these limits do not immediately activate Trump's policy, which remains paused for at least 30 days after the ruling. Chief Justice Roberts noted that the court's action did not affirm the legality of Trump's birthright citizenship policy. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented strongly, warning that this ruling could let the government enforce potentially unconstitutional policies against individuals who have not sued. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, also in dissent, called the decision a travesty for the rule of law. Birthright citizenship, rooted in the 14th Amendment and upheld in the 1898 case of United States versus Wong Kim Ark, has remained uncontested until Trump's recent order. The Biden-approved nationwide injunction had maintained the status quo, granting citizenship to children born in the U.S. regardless of their parents' immigration status. Immigration advocates and attorneys general from states including New Jersey, Washington, California, Massachusetts, and Connecticut stressed that for now birthright citizenship remains intact and emphasized their intention to continue legal challenges. The ACLU condemned the Supreme Court decision, calling the executive order blatantly illegal and cruel, but acknowledged the ruling left open further defense options. At its core, Trump versus CASA Inc. is about judicial reach. Trump's legal team argued that judges should only block orders for those who directly sue, not prevent enforcement nationwide. This ruling could curtail federal judges' long-standing practice of issuing broad, countrywide stays, reshaping future limits on executive power. Moments after the ruling, Trump entered the White House press briefing room with the air of someone who believed he could do no wrong. In his narrative, he had resolved crises in the Middle East, forced NATO allies to increase their spending, and brought stability to parts of Africa. Now, after this favorable Supreme Court ruling, he saw himself as an unchallenged ruler, a modern-day Napoleon crowned by the judiciary. "We've had a big week," he told reporters, "a lot of wins this week." As the Supreme Court limited the ability of lower courts to issue sweeping nationwide injunctions that blocked Trump's policies, a move that he interpreted as a green light for executive dominance, Trump celebrated it as another step towards his policy goals. Eager to bask in the media spotlight, especially compared to his more reserved predecessor Joe Biden, Trump took the opportunity to lash out at critical outlets and celebrate the court's decision. He framed the ruling as a triumph for constitutional principles and separation of powers, falsely boasting that people are elated all over the country and signaling that other controversial targets like sanctuary city funding and refugee programs were next on his list. The broader question of how much authority federal judges should wield over national policy is not new. Even Barack Obama once voiced exasperation when a lower court stalled his immigration initiatives. Attorney General Pam Bondi called it a long-standing bipartisan concern, affecting presidents from both parties. But with all other guardrails now broken, the judiciary was the final protection that the people had against the authoritarian dictator that is now sitting in the White House. In her majority, Justice Amy Coney Barrett dismissed Ketanji Brown Jackson's warnings about weakening judicial checks on executive overreach. Barrett accused the dissent of favoring an imperial judiciary while criticizing executive authority. But the broader political context complicates the legal debate. Trump has weakened congressional oversight, threatened the press through lawsuits, attacked universities and cultural institutions, and even used the military to suppress protesters. The judiciary has often served as the last remaining check on his power. Without this ruling, that check is extinguished. Pressed by a reporter about whether the ruling gave the president too much unchecked authority, Trump replied, "It's the opposite. The Constitution has been restored." Still, critics point out that the Supreme Court, expanding executive leeway, now includes 3 Trump loyalists. And it was that court which previously ruled that former presidents have immunity from prosecution for actions taken in office, a decision that seemed to elevate Trump above the law. The criminal cases that once surrounded him now seem like distant memories.
It's your favorite president, President Trump. Now I hear there's a lot of confusion about voting, mostly caused by me. So I'm here to straighten it out. With my proven technique, you can vote like Trump and for Trump. Trump.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.